Welcome back to Behind the Beats podcast. Today's topic is tough but critical: how to handle stalking as a DJ. Me and DJ Scotts are breaking down warning signs, safety tips, and how to protect your peace. This is a safe space. Let's talk real solutions. If this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe. We drop raw conversations like this every week. Stay safe, fam.
Turntable spinning, interviews hitting. Catch the rhythm of the stories they spitting. Production gems, stacks in the sheets. The engine that hums, yeah, behind the beats. Behind the beats, storylines unfold. Truths untold, now shining like gold. Voices vibing, keeping it elite. It's the podcast, Behind the Beats. Behind the Beats.
Welcome to Behind the Beats. Today, we're diving deep into a challenging reality that, unfortunately, can touch anyone in the public eye, including, the DJ world.
Yeah.
Is your biggest fan actually a stalker? You've shared some really insightful articles, and they reveal how that line between, enthusiastic support and unhealthy obsession can sometimes blur.
It really can.
So, our mission today is really to unpack all that. We want to equip you with some actionable knowledge. We'll focus on warning signs, how stalkers might use your online stuff against you, what to do if someone actually shows up at a gig.
The whole paper trail thing, too.
Exactly. The paper trail, there's a pretty shocking fact in there as well, and maybe some first steps towards mental recovery afterwards.
It's a conversation that's, it's crucial, and sadly, it seems to be more and more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And what's fascinating, but also, worrying, is how the very things that help you connect your music, your online presence, can kind of inadvertently open doors for unwanted attention.
Yeah.
Potentially harmful attention.
Okay, so let's start unpacking that. Let's look at the initial warning signs first. Those gut feelings maybe, or behaviors that just make you feel a bit uneasy. The sources definitely highlight some key red flags you shouldn't ignore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the articles you sent over mentioned something, they called it the 5-second stalker test.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit blunt, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it offers a really powerful insight. It points to a major red flag. A fan showing consistent, unsolicited knowledge of your personal schedule, your whereabouts.
Right.
Are they constantly popping up at multiple different gigs unexpectedly? That shift from just being dedicated to, it seeming like pre-planning, that's something to really watch.
Right, that feeling of, hang on, didn't I see you in another city 2 nights ago? It goes beyond just being supportive, starts to feel like a pattern, a deliberate kind of unsettling pattern.
Precisely. And the material also talks about those repeated accidental meetups. Okay, one chance encounter might be just that, a coincidence, but a whole series of them. It starts to suggest something else is going on.
Definitely raises an eyebrow.
And then there are the gifts. Gifts that reveal private information. Maybe a specific reference to your pet's name you only mentioned, once in some old obscure post.
Wow.
Or details about your family that aren't public knowledge. These aren't typical fan interactions, are they? They show someone's digging way deeper than they should be.
Yeah, that's crossing a line.
And one expert in the sources noted something really telling. Try setting a polite but firm boundary early on. See how they react. If that boundary is just ignored, or worse, actively pushed against, that is a significant warning sign.
That's a really key point, how someone reacts when you say no, basically. Okay, this is where it gets critical in today's world, right? The digital side. We need to look at exactly how stalkers can, exploit your online presence, your social media, gig announcements. What kind of posts are just giving away too much?
Oh, this is a huge area of vulnerability now. Huge. The sources call certain types of posts danger posts.
Danger posts, okay. Like what?
Well, think about using real-time location tagging on your gig posts. If you're posting as you arrive or during your set, you're basically broadcasting your exact location right then and there.
Yeah, like putting a pin on a map for them.
Exactly. Pictures of your home studio, too, even if they seem harmless. They can accidentally show identifying details about where you live or work. A street sign outside the window, maybe?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Or even just regular check-ins, same coffee shop every Tuesday morning, same gym after. It paints a very predictable picture of your routine over time.
It's like leaving digital breadcrumbs, isn't it? Curating a trail for someone who wants to track you. And one article specifically warned about posting real-time travel plans. It pointed out how easily someone could figure out your flights just by seeing a public playlist titled, like, Weekend Gig in Chicago. Oops, you've just given away your travel dates.
Exactly right. And it's not always the obvious stuff either. One source highlighted how even reflections in photos.
Reflections.
Yeah, like say your hotel room number reflected in your glasses in an Instagram story. Or in a shiny surface. It can give away where you're staying temporarily.
That's incredibly specific and kind of scary, actually.
It is. There was even a mention of how using music ID apps, like Shazam, on unreleased tracks in your studio could, in some situations, maybe pinpoint your studio's location if that info is somehow linked publicly. It's getting really granular.
Wow. Okay, so those are some pretty unsettling ways information can leak. What are some actual concrete steps, then, that you can take, online, I mean, to sort of cut down on these risks?
Yeah. The sources give some clear advice. Number one, delay location sharing. Big time.
So post after you've left.
Exactly. Post the tag a day or two later.
Yeah.
Also use those close friends lists or similar features more strategically. Keep the really personal updates for a smaller, trusted circle.
Okay, that makes sense.
One source even suggested scrubbing EXIF data from your photos before posting.
EXIF data, what's that?
It's basically hidden info embedded in the image file itself. It can contain the precise GPS coordinates of where the photo was taken.
Whoa, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, but there are simple apps and settings you can use to remove it. It's worth looking into. And look, while it's extreme, the material does acknowledge, in severe cases, changing your DJ name, maybe even relocating, might be necessary to feel safe again.
Wow. Those more drastic steps really hammer home how serious this can get. Okay, let's shift gears now. Let's talk about when those online red flags unfortunately become real-world threats. What are the crucial steps if a stalker actually shows up at one of your gigs? Having an emergency plan, right?
This is where pre-planning is just essential. Absolutely essential. The sources really stress having a clear plan before anything happens for when someone crosses that physical line.
Okay.
This includes building a relationship with venue staff beforehand, know who security is, talk to the manager. One article suggested creating a discreet code word, like a stalker alert, something you can say quickly to security or bar staff
Oh, smart.
to let them know you need help without tipping off the person causing the problem.
That's a really clever, subtle way to signal trouble. The sources also mentioned specific security measures you might ask venues for.
Yeah, things like requesting a private green room, maybe with security posted nearby, or arranging for a secure escort to your car, or transport after your set. Don't just walk out alone into the night.
Good point.
One of the more worrying real-world examples in the material described a situation where a stalker actually managed to bribe a bartender for backstage access.
No way.
Yeah. It just highlights why you need to be vigilant, even with venue staff sometimes,
Right.
and why having your own prearranged plan is so important. Don't just assume the venue has it covered.
That's a real wake-up call. You can't just rely on assumptions about security. Speaking of real-world examples, you mentioned one specifically to illustrate the dangers.
Well, the articles had several disturbing stories, sadly, but the one about a DJ who had someone, a persistent individual, actually managed to sneak into their hotel room. That one really stands out.
Oh my God.
It's just chilling. It really underscores the level of intrusion some people are capable of and why recognizing and acting on those early signs is so critical. It's not just annoying, it's a direct threat. Your safety, your well-being.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a really crucial piece, creating that paper trail. The sources mentioned some surprising facts here and even some clever tactics.
Yeah, documenting everything. This is repeated over and over is vital. Keep a detailed log. Every interaction that worries you, dates, times, locations, what exactly happened, what was said or messaged.
Keep everything.
Save everything. Screenshots of messages, DMs, comments, photos or videos if it's appropriate and safe to get them. This creates that essential record if you need to involve the police later.
And there were some interesting paper trail tricks mentioned too. Something about certified mail.
Yeah, that was a clever one. The idea is to send yourself certified mail containing printouts or descriptions of the evidence, screenshots, logs, whatever.
Send it to yourself. Why?
Because the certified mail provides a time-stamped official record from the Postal Service that proves that specific evidence existed on that specific date. It can apparently add weight if things end up in court.
Huh. That's resourceful.
Another tactic mentioned was screenshotting any financial transactions, like Venmo or PayPal payments, if they're linked to the unwanted attention. Say, if someone keeps trying to pay you excessively for personal access or something weird.
Okay, how does that help?
Well, it could potentially help define the situation legally, blurring the line between typical fan stuff and something more transactional or harassing. The sources even touched on potentially using data privacy laws like GDPR.
Right, the European thing.
Yeah, to try and request social media companies disclose IP addresses of people engaging in stalking. But that's, a much more complex legal path.
Definitely sounds more technical, but good to know it might be an option. And speaking of impactful facts, one source stated that a huge majority, something like 70% of stalkers, will escalate their behavior if they're just ignored.
That statistic is really sobering, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just hammers home that happening, ignoring it, hoping it'll just go away. That's often not the best strategy. In fact, it could increase the risk. You need to take proactive steps, document it, address it somehow. It's crucial for your safety.
Right. Ignoring isn't a plan.
And the material also brought up a worrying systemic issue. The fact that restraining orders often don't automatically work across state lines.
Oh, really? So if you move or they move?
It can create extra legal hurdles and challenges if the stalking crosses state borders. Something to be aware of.
That's definitely critical info if the problem isn't just local. Okay, finally, let's touch on something really important, often overlooked. The mental and emotional recovery after experiencing stalking. The trauma is real, right? What are some first steps towards healing?
Yes, this is such a vital part of the discussion. The impact goes way beyond just the incidents themselves. The sources really highlight the significant psychological toll, that constant feeling of being watched.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
The hypervigilance, the paranoia, especially maybe before or after gigs, and a really damaging erosion of trust. Trust in your audience, which is so painful when your work relies on that connection.
Absolutely. Your relationship with fans is fundamental. Having that sense of safety shattered must be incredibly difficult. The sources call it trauma, and that feels like the right word.
It is trauma, no question. Experiencing stalking can absolutely lead to symptoms similar to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
So the sources suggest several initial steps towards healing. Seeking professional therapy is key. They specifically mention approaches like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing as potentially helpful for processing traumatic memories.
Okay, EMDR.
And connecting with peer support groups. Finding other people, maybe even other DJs, who've been through something similar. That can provide incredible understanding, validation, just that feeling of not being alone in it.
Yeah, knowing others get it must make a difference.
Definitely. And the idea of maybe safely rebranding or making some significant changes to your public persona, that's also mentioned as a way some people regain a sense of control and start to move forward.
It's so important to remember, like one of the experts said, many people in the public eye do think about walking away from their passion entirely after being stalked. But the message here is you don't have to let it end your career. Prioritizing your mental health, actively seeking support, those are crucial steps towards recovery, towards being able to keep doing what you love.
Exactly. And while the sources do acknowledge, we need broader systemic changes to tackle stalking properly.
No, it's not just on the individual.
No, but their main focus, and ours today really, is on empowering you with the knowledge and the personal strategies we've talked about.
So wrapping up this deep dive, hopefully it's given everyone a clearer picture of the potential risks. But more importantly, some concrete steps you can actually take.
Yeah.
Remember those early red flags we talked about? The overly persistent messages, showing up uninvited way too often, gifts that show they know way too much private stuff, that 5-second stalker test if they seem to know your schedule better than you do, or those accidental meetups keep happening. Time to be cautious.
And think hard about your online footprint. Are you accidentally broadcasting your location in real time? Those geotags, even stuff reflected in photos, it can all be exploited. Maybe delay sharing locations. Be really mindful of what your posts might reveal, even unintentionally.
And if, unfortunately, someone does cross that line and shows up at a gig, having that prearranged emergency plan, knowing who to alert, maybe having that code word ready, that's paramount.
Absolutely. And the sources really hammered home documenting everything. That paper trail police reports, if it gets to that, screenshots, saving messages, even that certified mail trick. It can be absolutely crucial if you need legal backup. And remember that shocking statistic. Most stalkers escalate if ignored. Taking action is vital.
Finally, and maybe most importantly, acknowledge the potential psychological hit. The paranoia, the anxiety. It's real, it's trauma. Seeking support, whether it's therapy or connecting with others who understand, that's a sign of strength, definitely not weakness.
The sources make it clear lots of DJs experience this. Prioritizing your mental well-being is essential. for your recovery and for keeping your passion for music alive.
It's a tough reality, no doubt. But hopefully, by staying informed, being proactive, you can navigate these situations with more awareness and really prioritize your safety. We definitely encourage everyone listening to maybe revisit these points, think about what actions you can implement in your own professional life.